Hello, dear students. Welcome to the Bajirao IS Academy. Before starting our editorial discussion, let's play a game of interaction. And in this game, we try to solve the practical case study. And the case study involves certain issues belonging to your district, and you can relate with that. Okay. And here, we try to get innovative solutions from you, how you can handle the case, how you can handle the situation in much practical way. So here we will try to get into that. And suppose you are Chulbul Pandey of your district. Chulbul Pandey not means Salman Khan, but superintendent of police. Okay. And here in your district you observed certain problems. And here the problem is related to increasing digital crimes. And you can observe that in your district there is the increase in online bank fraud, along with mobile hacking, the data hacking, all of that. And not only that, due to the digital penetration and excessive dependency on the social media, on content creation, there is a increase in online sexual abuse of women via deepfake. Now, you should understand about deepfake that it is artificially intelligence generated content. It can be video, it can be audio, it can be text, okay, and which some things looks to be real. So that means it is posing much more bigger challenges to women. Okay, and you observed all of this incident in your district. So how you will be handling this challenge? Okay, and try to provide some innovative solution. And here the solution you will be providing will be something technological. Okay, because these are technological crises. So to solve the technological crisis you need to include technology. That's the point. I am not providing you the solution. The solution will be provided by you, and just think deeper and deeper. Okay. And I am providing you certain important thing, how you can generate the idea. Like first of all, understand the stakeholder involved in this. Okay. And here the stakeholder can be the user of the digital device like mobile phone or the laptop. Okay. And another stakeholder will be the government, because the government will be ultimately making laws or regulations. Okay, so try to incorporate all of these and definitely you will be coming to a innovative solution. And please try to give the solution in the chat box so that other peer groups can also see the suggestions, and they can also provide some suggestions if something a strike into their mind. Okay, so that's why I provide you on the daily basis to solve these type of practical case study, so that you will become more aware on the one side and you will be empowered to solve such type of issue in the case study paper. Okay, and this simple approach will boost your confidence in public speaking. Not only that, but also the debate and discussion, the interview. Okay, because solving case study is like a mathematics, and if you put your mind, concentrate your mind on a particular issue deeply, that means you will be incorporating that character. Okay, so that's why we try to give you this type of scenario, and this is little bit different approach rather solving in a traditional manner. Okay, so we will move forward, and welcome to the Bajirao IS Academy. Today is 24th of November and we will be discussing the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. Today we have three articles in discussion, and all these three articles are very important for the examination point of view. Why? Because here deepfake issue we will be addressing it, what are the challenges associated with it, and do India have the specific legislation regarding the deepfake? We will explore that. And what are some innovative solution here, and you can also learn some of the practical approach that are adopted by the users to deal with the deepfake. Okay, so this is something awareness related article as well, so you will enjoy this. And when we talk about the first article, it is related to 5 trillion economy. Okay, and when we talk about 5 trillion economy, although India achieved the target of $3 trillion economy, and not only that, at the global level, India is the fifth largest economy in the world and surpassed the France and the UK. Okay, and now we are targeting to advance more. But here in this article, there is an important saying that despite we are trying to get richer and more GDP growth and development, all of that, but will we able to deal with the challenges related to the poverty and hunger? In simple sense, does these 5 trillion economy will ensure equitable development, inclusive development? Because still we are like providing about 80 crore population the food under the National Food Security Act. Okay, you know that. So if we achieve, let's say, 5 trillion economy by 2028, so we will be able to cater the challenges related to the hunger or poverty, or the issue will still be there. So we will be elaborating in that. Okay, and the third article is related to the upcoming COP28 conference of the United Nations framework of climate change. And here the focus should be that despite there is the climate crisis going on, but the developed nations are not like behaving in a responsible manner, and that's why India and other developing countries should focus on the development first. Okay, because despite we are like committed to deal with the climate change, but the response coming from the developed nation is not too good. Okay, and we are diverting our resources, material, labor, workforce to deal with the climate change, but when it comes to the developed nation, they only commits but not do real actions. That's the point. And here we will be understanding about the global carbon budget. What do you mean by it, and how it is shrinking very fast? Okay, and also what will be India's equity demand and what will be India's stake here. We all will be elaborating. So let's sip. But before that, we on the daily basis, as you know, try to provide previous year paper from the UPSC prelims paper. Okay, so here pause the video, try to solve it. And the question is related to the politics section. It will help you to clear your concept, to clear your doubt. Okay, and we will be providing you the solution during the last session of our discussion. So the question is, if the President of India exercises his power as provided under Article 356 of the Constitution in respect of a particular state, then option A, the Assembly of the state is automatically dissolved. It is talking about a state legislative assembly. Option B, the power of the legislature of that state shall be exercisable by or under the authority of the parliament. Okay. Option C, Article 19 is suspended in that state. Option D, the president can make laws relating to that state. Okay, so you have the four option, and remember, this is not the national emergency. This is the president rule. Okay, because Article 356 talks about president rule, and you have to choose the option correctly. And here there can be the confusion in two options, so try to avoid the confusion and try to focus on the question what has been asked, then definitely you will be reaching to the correct answer. Okay, and here you can eliminate as well. Okay, use the elimination if you have the background knowledge. So we will be providing you the solution, but at the last session of our discussion. And now we are shifting to the article discussion, and the first article you can relate with GS paper 2 and GS paper 3 as well. So when we talk about $5 trillion economy, India has a target that by 2028 India will achieve $5 trillion economy. But the question is, for whom? For the poorer or for the rich? Because when we talk about the current condition of our population, so you know that majority of the population in India gets food assistance from the government under the National Food Security Act. Okay, and also recently due to the COVID-19 crisis, we have launched another scheme, that is the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, which provides extra food grains to these beneficiary of National Food Security Act. Okay, and what do you mean by the beneficiary of National Food Security Act? It simply means that we try to provide food grains to the poorer section under the public distribution scheme. Okay, you know about it. And also, at the another hand, we are targeting for $5 trillion economy by 2028. So that means we have extended the scheme for the next 5 years, and in the next 5 years, what will be the year 2028, and what is our target by 2028? $5 trillion economy. So does it means that on the one side, if we are able to achieve the target of $5 trillion economy, but still the marginalized or the poorer section is facing the hunger crisis or the food crisis, and that's why we are trying to extend this scheme by 2028. Okay, so that means the benefit of the 5 trillion economy is not going to be under the domain of the poor population, the vulnerable population, the marginalized population, but to the richer section. Okay, and this is the one case. Look at the another case, like in case of Japan. Japan once upon a time was a very rich country, and still it is. As you can observe that Japan is currently the third largest economy in the world. Tell me the two largest economy of the global world. Okay, so basically when we talk about Japan, the third largest economy in the world, but here there is another problem arising out. What is the problem? The social isolation, the loneliness of the people. Despite they have huge money, high per capita income, but the loneliness, the isolation is felt there. And you can understand by the data given in this article that there is a reportedly a death by suicide every 20 minutes. That means in every 20 minutes, one person dies. That's a very serious issue, and it represents that despite you have so much huge money and huge GDP or the economy, but social isolation is still there. It means your economic success was representing a failure of the social success. Okay, so socially it was not become successful, despite economically the Japan becomes successful. And this is not only the case of Japan, but also the case of various developed nation. Okay, so the GDP or the amount of GDP also represents a fake picture of development. Okay, because in the development versus GDP boost the economy, but maybe the development gets suffered. And when we talk about development, it means multidimensionality. Multidimensionality, it means in terms of their economic well-being, in terms of social well-being, in terms of physical well-being, all of them are incorporated. Although when we talk about the social relations in India, it is very good. Despite we have lower per capita income, all of that, but social relations, the family institutions are very good, and it is best reflected in rural area. Still the culture is changing in the urban area as well. Okay, and you can understand that urban India is like copying the western culture, and not only that, their influence will be visible in the urban city as well, the feeling of social isolation as well. So that's the point. And what is in Japan society, you can observe that the old parents, they rent actresses, so that these actresses call them mom or dad. Okay, that's the scenario. You may not imagine this type of situation in India, but if we are copying the another culture and we are like trying to only focus on the economic growth, so this type of scenario can come in India, although it is very far. Okay, and what are the conclusion? Japan's economic growth has come at the social cost. Okay, and when we talk about the scenario in India, so we have the like fifth largest economy in the global world, but what we are aiming for, $5 trillion economy. But when we talk about the gap, the divide in the economic relations, so there is huge gap between the rich and the poor. That means you can observe from a data that about 1% of the population owned about 41% of the nation's wealth in India, while the bottom 50% owned 3% of the total wealth. That means if we are aiming to promote $5 trillion economy, who will benefit? The richer will be getting benefited. And an economic growth is dependent on certain pillar like capital, productivity, and labor. So capital is resided to whom? The richer section. So benefit will be to whom? The richer section. And when we talk about productivity, so productivity is also lacking in the Indian labor. Okay, and we have lack of skills, we have the lack of industrial and technical expertise, so the liberal section will still be far behind as compared to the rich sections of our society. Okay, and when we talk about contribution to the $5 trillion economy, who will be contributing much? The poorer, the middle class people. You will be thinking how? So it is a simple concept that when we talk about GST contribution, okay, you know that GST is an indirect tax, and whatever product we buy, we have to pay the GST. Okay, but you can understand that 64% of GST comes from bottom 50% of the population. Okay, and that the scenario, and there is a labor issue also because of the educational and skill requirements, and there is absence of that. And how government is going to fulfill their target? We have the various initiatives, incentives that are promoting towards the target, like digital economy we are promoting. Okay, digital revolution we have done in terms of the cheap internet rates and cheap mobile devices. Okay, and we are seeing the content creation and the money creation via these digital economy along with fintech solutions. Tell me about fintech. What do you mean by fintech? Okay, does UPI is an example of fintech? Along with energy transition, climate change, GST, insolvency and bankruptcy code, along with we have did like decrease in corporate tax, make in India, stand up India, production linked incentive, all these initiatives we have taken in the recent time to achieve our goal, but there are challenges towards it. What are the challenges? First of all, we have low per capita income as compared to other important country. Like our per capita income is $2,400 only. When we talk about China's per capita income, it is 13,000. Okay, and when we talk about Japan, it is about 34,000. So Remember the huge gap between India's per capita income and per capita income of these countries. Also, you can compare specifically with related to the China, because China is our neighbor, and China fastly attained the economic development. Okay, and also they have the bigger economy, like second largest economy in the global world. Okay, and there are another challenge like high inequality index that measures inequality in India. Okay, and they gives a score between 0 to 100, and 100 reflects the better equitable condition of the society, of the economy, all of that. But India's score is 21.9, and when we talk about the score with respect to the Japan and China, it is over 50. Okay, and when we talking about achievement of $5 trillion economy, that means in the coming time the divide between the rich and the poor is going to be deepened. Okay, as we have talked about the issue involved with this, and that's why we need to ensure that even we try to achieve these type of targets or the economic growth, but that should be more inclusive, more equitable. Okay, that will boost the development, but inclusive development, equitable development. That's the point in this article. Okay, and now we are shifting to the second editorial discussion. It is related to deepfake. You know that in the recent incident, the some viral video of Indian actress Rashmika Mandana went to viral, and recently, our Prime Minister also highlighted the concern regarding the deepfake. But what do you mean by deepfake? To understand it better, I am providing you a image. Try to identify which is the real image, which is the fake image. Can you identify? There are chances that you cannot. Okay, but in this image, there is also image created by the artificial intelligence, that is the deep fake image. So that is the challenge of deepfake. That is the challenge of artificial intelligence, that as we are moving faster and faster in the world of artificial intelligence, the challenges are also rapidly increasing faster and faster. And that's why it raises certain concerns. And when we talk about its impact on the society, it can have a positive impact, as we discussed earlier in our various editorial and discussion. But the negative impacts can be much more and can be more hazardous. Okay, because it can be used for identity blaming, it can be used for blackmailing, it can be used for revenge pornography, all of that, sexual harassment, all of that. And can you assume the impact on the mental stress that these content can create among us the celebrity? You can take the recent example of Rashmika Mandana. Okay, so that's the point, and hence we need to become more aware and we need to take actions. So you can also think that if this is the scenario going on, that means various company definitely is going to take actions. They can also create some solutions to identify the deepfake content. Okay, yes, actions are being done, but the challenge is whether these actions will be able to control the deep fake. Okay, so that's the point, and that's we need to understand. And in India, we need to implement, we need to regulate the artificial intelligence. Okay, so that it should not hamper the peace and the stability of our society, because our society is based on respect, our society is based on the positive behavior. If there is a disturbance, then definitely it will be going to impact the whole society. Okay, so there is a great threat, and the existing systems which was established to tackle the cyber crimes, okay, that was like a traditional approach. But now, with the introduction of artificial intelligence, specifically the generative AI, and when we talk about generative AI, try to understand that it has the ability to generate the content which will be similar to the human intelligence, and also you cannot compare with the false and the real one. Okay, So that's the power of generative AI. It means the content is generated by thinking in a multidimensional manner. So that's the point, okay? And that's the challenge which is going to occur in the coming times with the introduction, with the penetration, with the development of artificial intelligence, okay? And what is the current legal framework that will be helping to curb the deepfake scenario? Okay, so basically at the global level, various companies, countries are trying to make regulations to control the dark artificial intelligence, okay? And you can take an example like the Intel's, that is the chip maker company, okay? They have developed the deepfake detector called fake catcher, okay? Along with there are various development going on, but look at India's perspective, okay? Let's say you have a stuck in a deep fake video of yours, okay, in the internet. So what is the solution available for you? So if you face certain type of situation, so you can adopt certain mechanism like reporting the post to the social media platform, because in the information technology rules we have a mandate that these social media platform will establish the like personnel to handle these type of posts, okay? And they are legally bind to not only address the grievances related to cybercrime but also remove it within 36 hours. So that's the plus point. And another option is that you can lodge a complaint with the National Cybercrime Helpline by calling to the number 1930, and along with you can hire good cyber lawyer, okay, to ensure legal remedy available under various provisions of the like Copyright Act or the Indian Penal Code, all of that. And we have an online forum like a stopncii.org. You can visit that and look at that, okay? So try to be aware, okay? And by understanding all these solutions, and you can spread it with your friend circle, all of that. So this is like awareness generating article as well, okay? But when we talk about a specific legislation that deals with the deep fake, it is not there in India, okay? So what is the solution here? That we need to make a specific legislation that should regulate the artificial intelligence and the other dimensions involving erupting from the artificial intelligence, like the deep fake, dark artificial intelligence, all of that, okay? So at the international level there are initiatives going on, but one important thing here you need to understand that to combat the deep fake, we need to fight with the artificial intelligence methodology itself. That means artificial intelligence should be trained in such a manner that it becomes capable to identify the deepfake content and they strike down that deepfake content. So that's the point, because there will be a very much challenges if human do work of identifying and striking down. But if we make capable the artificial intelligence, the machines, so it will be easier to identify, to a strike down within the stipulated time. So that's the point, okay? Along with coalition for content provenance and authority, which is an open technical standard created by the coming together of many software companies, okay? And they aims to authenticate the digital picture, whether it is the real or the fake, okay? So this is another scenario going on. But when we talk about India, okay, so there is a lack of collaboration, as we see in the Hollywood movies. Like recently we seen that a like protest was going on in the between the Hollywood actors regarding the introduction of the artificial intelligence in the movies, and that led to the crisis amongst the livelihood of the Hollywood actors, okay? So this type of collaboration is lacking in India, okay? And that's why the awareness is not very much visible in this type of case, okay? And until and unless the legislation does not get developed, okay, we need to be aware of this artificial intelligence technology and take the measures as suggested by the expert as well. So that's the point. Hope you understood. And now we are shifting to the another article that is related to GS paper 3. Okay, and that's also a very important article because UPSC do ask about climate change and related articles associated with it. Okay, so we will be understanding in detail. So basically when we talk about climate change, you know that it is a real phenomenon and the after effects are much more visible in the developing nation, visible in the developed nation. Okay, but tell me, who is responsible for this anthropogenic global warming? Whether it is the developing nation, whether it is the developed nation. Now you will be answering yes, developed nation, right? Okay, and that means there should be a more responsibility to the developed nation as compared to the developing nation to cater the global warming. Yes, but do they are recognizing their responsibility? Here the answer is no. Okay, so what is needed by the developed nation, it is not being done by the developed nation. Ultimately the burden is being borne by the developing nation like India and other related South Asian country. Okay, so that's the point. And when we talk about the measures to tackle the climate change, so the measure was started since 1992 when the conference, you know that Rio de Janeiro, it was held in, and it is also known as Rio Conference. Okay, 1992, and three important convention developed like UN CBD, UN FCCC. Okay, UNCCD. Tell me the full form of all these conventions and what these convention deals with that. Here we will be focusing on the UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework on Climate Change. Okay, so this framework come in 1992 and that talk about to combating the climate change. And here there was an important note in this convention that per capita emissions in developing nations is very low as compared to the developed nation, because developed nation became developed by compromising the environment by ensuring bigger and higher amount of greenhouse gas emission. Okay, and now we are not, the developing nations are not able to emit greenhouse gas emission, because if they will do, then there are restrictions imposed and they can also create extra burden with related to the climate change or the global warming. Okay, and in that convention there was also recognition of common but differentiated responsibility. Now what do you mean by common but differentiated responsibility? It means that despite we have the common responsibility to curb the climate change, to curb the global warming, but there will be a differentiated responsibility in the name that the developed nation was historically responsible for more emission and for more greenhouse gas emission. That's why the responsibility will be different, but the goal will be common. Okay, and also there will be respective capabilities, because the capability of developed country and the developing countries are different. So based on the capability, the action will be done. But here developed nation only they have committed, but in the reality they didn't act it. So there is a difference between action and commitment. Okay, like they have committed to give $100 billion fund per year, okay, to the developing nation, but only commitment, no devolution of the fund. And if they are giving the fund as well, we have highlighted in the article that mainly the fund is coming via loan. Okay, so this will actually going to increase the burden on the developing nation. That's the point. Okay, and when we talk about the IPCC, Indian panel, international panel on climate change report, okay, so they have highlighted in their sixth assessment report that every 1000 billion ton of carbon dioxide emission causes an estimated 0.45 degrees Celsius rise. That means 0.5 degree Celsius rise. That means 50% of the 1 degree Celsius. Okay, and remember that This is not a small rise. The impact will be much more devastating. Okay. And also, when we talk about the global carbon budget, what is it? To understand it, what do you mean by budget? First of all, understand it. Okay. Try to think, what do you mean by budget? Budget is the amount where you will be expending at max. Okay. So you have a stock of money, let's say 10 rupee in your pocket, and that represents your budget. That means you are allowed to expend 10 rupees itself. So simply put this concept in the global carbon budget. What do you mean by global carbon budget? Like you have a target to limit the global rise in temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay. So to achieve this target, we should have a global carbon budget. That means how much maximum emission can we do so that our target of 1.5 degree rise in the global temperature should not be breached. Okay, so that represents the global carbon budget. And in the recent time, our emission is much more higher, that we are like shrinking our global carbon budget. That means we are emitting more and more. That means the budget available for us to achieve our target is reducing. That's the point. Hope you understood in much more clarity. Okay. And you can understand that according to the IPCC report AR6 assessment report 6, the world has already warmed by 1.07 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial level. And what is our Paris climate target? That limiting the global temperature rise by 1.5 degree Celsius and about 2 degrees Celsius. That means our ultimate aim is to restrict the global temperature rise by 2 degrees Celsius, but we will try harder and harder to achieve, to restrict our rise up to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is our goal. Okay. And you can observe that the rise in the average temperature is increasing very fast, and actually 1.07 degrees Celsius has been increased. Okay, that means 80% we are like nearer of 1.5 degree breach. Okay, that means we have only 20% chance, okay, to reduce or to limit the temperature rise. Okay, that means the action needs to be increased, needs to be boosted so as to make our target achievable. Okay, and for that the developed nation needs to act faster. Like US in earlier time, they aimed for achieving net carbon neutrality by 2050, but they have to bring their target by 2025. Also Germany, which targeted for 2045, but they have to achieve earlier by 2030. Okay, because we are very much nearer to reach the target. Okay, and to ensure that we do not, there is a need to rapid fire our action, our commitments. Okay, so that's the point. And now at the last, who is responsible for cumulative global emission? So it is basically the developed nation. Developed nation. Why? Because still the contribution of South Asian nation, whether it is India, whether it is Bangladesh or the Pakistan, all of that, okay, they only emitted 4% of the global carbon emission, despite we have 24% of the world population. And when we talk about the share of the North America in terms of per capita fossil fuel and industry, okay, you can understand that the value of it is 15.4 tons carbon dioxide equivalent, and for South Asia it is just 1.7 ton carbon dioxide equivalent. That means North America is emitting much more the carbon footprint. Okay, and in South Asia or in India the share is very much low. So mainly they are responsible, but we are facing the burden. Okay, we are not getting the fund that we are needed to tackle this growing challenge of climate change. Okay, and when we talk about the carbon budget in India, so India should recognize its fair share of the carbon budget as a strategic national resource. And still, we can observe that despite we are aiming for climate change target, okay, we are trying to reduce the global warming emission, but still the majority of the nation are dependent on non-renewable energy for their activities. Okay, like we have a data like 2022 oil, coal and gas accounted for 30%, 27% and 23% respectively of the world's total energy, while the share of solar and wind energy is only 2.4%. What does it highlight? That we are only talkative, we only participate in debate and discussion, but when it comes to the commitment, action and solution, there is pendency of cases. Okay, that's the point. And in the coming time, in COP 28, that is the Conference of Parties 28, that is going to held in Dubai, UAE. Okay, and this is also a dilemma that when we talk about UAE, so these are fossil fuel based economy, and here the conference of parties being organized. Okay, so this is a dilemma in itself. That's why many countries and the organizations was raising concerns about the summit. Okay, so that's the another point. But here, what India should do? So there is a very important suggestion that if developed nations are not taking interest in dealing with the climate change or the global warming, why India is too much focusing on the target? Okay, so the focus of India should be development, because if we are able to ensure development of our country, development of our economy, development of our people, that means it is the first defense against climate change. And although India did many initiatives both at national level and international level, whether it is International Solar Alliance, whether it is the electric vehicles promotion, or it is the green hydrogen mission, all of that, we are taking very much initiatives and we are like representing the world in terms of tackling the climate change. But what is the benefit if the developed nation are not showcasing interest in dealing with that? Because only India or mixture of 2 3 countries will not be dealing with the crisis of climate change. There is a need to have a global participation or the global consensus in this matter, in this issue, because these are global issue. So global nations need to participate here, but we are seeing the absence of this, and that's why India should much more focus on its development agenda. Okay, and also when we talk about financial commitments by the developed nation, as was committed by them in the Paris Climate Agreement COP21 or the Copenhagen Summit. Okay, but still the financial commitment is not being delivered, as we have highlighted in the previous articles dealing with the climate finance issue. Okay, so you can also visit that article and you can listen and you can understand in the greater perspective. Okay, so basically, India should demand a fair share of the carbon budget or equivalent reparations. Thus, climate change requires a global approach with equity and development at the core. So, equity and development. Okay. So, that's the end of the article. Hope you understood. And now we are shifting to the last, that is the prelims answer. The answer is option B. Okay. So, if there is a presidential power being established in any state or the presidential rule under Article 356, what will happen? First of all, we will understand what will not happen. The assembly of the state is automatically dissolved? No. In case of the president rule, the assembly is not automatically dissolved, but it may be dissolved, but after certain consideration. So first answer is not true. And when we talk about article option C, article 19 is suspended, no. In case of the presidential rule, there is no effect on the fundamental right of the citizens. Okay, so to kindly remember. And when we talk about option D, the president can make laws relating to that state. Remember that president rule, the president becomes the executive head. It is similar like the state government. Okay, so they have the more executive functionary rather than the legislative functionary. So the legislative functionary will be done by whom? Whether the state legislature? No, the state legislature will be suspended for a temporary period, and might be in the coming time it gets dissolved. Okay, but still the legislative functions will be done by the parliament. Okay, so that's the important thing and you need to understand. So the answer is option B. The power of the legislature of that state shall be exercised by or under the authority of the parliament. Okay, so that's the end of the session. Hope you enjoyed and definitely try to answer the question. Also, the case study, the innovative solution, this will make the discussion much more participatory, and our aim is like that. And you should also develop the thinking capability as well. So thank you, friends. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. We will meet again with the next short of session. Thank you.